So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Daryl. I run Carte Blanche Media. We do social media for small business owners and entrepreneurs. I am honored to have for a guest with me today, Miss Sonia Figueroa.
Yes.
Did I pronounce it right? Yes. And she is a awesome realtor out of the Chicagoland area. And the focus of this interview is going to be talking about her experience with social media and Periscope. She's the Periscope rock star, and I think you're becoming a Blab rock star as well. So want to kind of learn a little bit, learn a little bit more about that. And that's basically the purpose of this interview today. And if anyone wants to sit, feel free to sit. Just know that I would like to ask Sonia some questions up front. So if you're a little bit distracting or disruptive, I might boot you out. But that's basically the gist of it there. So just be aware. All right. So I'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you so much, Sonia. And maybe you could start by telling me what inspired you to get into real estate and the realty business there.
What inspired me, and thank you guys for the little props up there. What inspired me is, man, that was a long time ago, probably like 20 years ago. I invested in a small duplex. I actually lived in Florida for a little bit, and I had the bug of real estate, and I ended up getting like a little duplex. I wanted to be a so-called landlord at the time. I had no experience anything, and then I ended up buying a duplex, and it ended up being a horrible experience, believe it or not. I got the duplex, and I ended up having a crackhead person in there that was selling drugs.
Oh, wow.
And then in the other apartment, I had it was in shambles, and I had a contractor that went in there, and he completely did nothing. And he took my money, basically. Oh. So I know that's kind of like how I got started in real estate. That's a bad story, but to learn the ropes of real estate. And I'm like, you know what? Despite this horrible experience of, and I had to let it go to foreclosure, because when I first dabbed in real estate, I was 19 years old. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Wow.
So even though with that experience, I felt like, oh my God, now I know the bad of real estate. And at the time I was also going to school. I was going for my bachelor's degree in computer science. So I said to myself, I said, you know what, let me kind of leave this real estate stuff behind for a minute, even though I liked it a lot. But then I finished up school, and then I got into in the corporate world. So that's kind of how I dabbed into real estate back in the day.
Okay, so you were going to school, you decided like, hey, I would like to do a little bit of a real estate investment, and then you kind of graduated from school, had a bad experience there, and then graduated from school. Then what happened? So it sounds like you were working in a corporate job. Were you working in IT and computer science, that type of thing?
I worked in the corporate world for a long time as a telecommunications engineer. So I worked for I worked for MCI. That was back in the day. Now I did some project engineering with Cricket Wireless. I don't know if anyone's heard of that company. But so I did a lot of engineering on the back end with those telecommunication companies in the corporate world. And I said, you know what? This is not me. This is totally not me. The corporate 9 to 5. I was sick of it. I was just like, oh my God, get me out of this desk, because I was gonna go insane. I couldn't be disciplined. My bosses were like, well, you gotta do this and you gotta do that, and I was like, no, I don't. You know. So I had a little bit of an attitude. But you know, that corporate world, you gotta adhere to their rules and regulations, and I understand. I mean, obviously, I had to pay my bills, right? But it was just not me, man. I was not feeling it at all. And at the same time, you know, I'm always a creative person. So I probably got into social media, my God, I think when 10 years ago when Facebook started, I was in like, I wasn't into Facebook at that time, but I think I came into Facebook maybe like 4 years into it. And then from there, it just grew on the social media side. But on the real estate side, so I decided to end my corporate career because I just couldn't stand being disciplined by someone, having a boss per se. And my best friend, so this is when I was 19, I did the whole real estate, investment thing for a minute, had a crash course being a landlord investor real quick, went to corporate world, hated the corporate world. My best friend, her brother ended up opening up a real estate company, a Remax, back in 2003. And so, I was like, oh my God, this is my opportunity. This is it. This is me. This is what I got to do. So back in 2003, that's when I started to get my real estate license. And I, he ended up coaching me a little bit in the business. And back then there was really, Twitter. I don't think Twitter was around. I don't think a lot of these social media platforms didn't even exist.
Right.
That's kind of my progression into real estate. I know that's like a long-winded answer, but
No, I love that answer. I remember about 10 years ago, it was like MySpace was the big thing, and everybody was like you should get on MySpace because there's too many crazy people on MySpace and stuff. And Facebook was just starting to peak up a little bit there. So, were you doing anything with MySpace, or I'm not sure that businesses were really on MySpace, or were they at that time? Or
no, you know what? At that time, I think it was more like for musicians. At that time, more for music, or more people were just kind of playing around with it, and I can change my picture, or I can design my background, or some, it wasn't. It was more for fun. I don't think it was more of a business to business or business to consumer type of thing. It was just more for like entertainment. I did get into it a little bit, but I didn't like go full force like I am into social media now.
Right. So maybe you could tell me kind of like how has been your journey. So you started like about over a decade ago in real estate, like really getting into it. Sounds like your first experience was 20 years ago, but like actually being a realtor and whatnot, that was about a decade or so ago. Was it kind of easy when you first started, or were there mistakes along the way, or like how was that journey?
It was tough, man. Real estate is not for the faint of heart. As many, as much as the public feels like, oh yeah, I got all this money, all this commission, and you're making, you live in a mansion probably, and blah blah blah. So far from it, it's unbelievable. Real estate is tough, man. It's a tough business. You got to have a tough heart sometimes, and you got to have some backup money, some savings, because if you don't close, you are out of luck. So yeah, no, it was tough. It was tough. So my when I first started, it was a Remax, and not a Remax. I'm sorry. The broker that I had, he was transitioning into an independent company on his own. He wanted to go on his own and not in the big brand. And that was even tougher because nobody knew who the heck, this real estate company was. It was ABC Realty, And so I was trying to get leads as best as I could. I would talk to everybody. I would put out flyers out there. I did a lot of print back in the day, a lot of, newspaper ads, and just a lot. I mean, I just try to hustle with everybody that I knew. If you had a cousin, I would be like, hey, I'm in real estate. It was hard. It was hard getting my foot out the door into real estate. It was hard. No joke about that.
It kind of cut out there a little bit, but when did you start to feel that you were really starting to get it there as far as real estate? And like, was there like a certain sale that you closed that like, yes, that this is going to pay for like the next 6 months, or that's going to pay for like rent for this month, or anything like that? Was there like one particular incident that you're like, okay, I'm really starting to get it now?
Well, it was more volume because the sales that I had, they were like very small, like price point. So it was like 80,000, 90,000, 100,000. You know, it wasn't. I have not yet closed on $1 million deal like you see in the TV with, you know, these $1 million listings and all that. I mean, that's just so, for me, it's really fake. But the reality is that most middle America, you know, are going to be $500,000 and less. So the deals that I made, they were small deals, but it was in volume. So I would close maybe, I was closing probably like 4 to 7 deals that were small. They were like 80,000, 90,000, but obviously it adds up. So I was like, man, then I could really do this, you know, even though, but I hustled. You have to hustle in real estate. Otherwise it's not gonna work. So that was my aha moment in that time, knowing that this was a knack for me, that I could do it. And that I can, even though they were small deals, but with volume, I was able to maintain, you know, a steady flow of income to keep me afloat with my bills.
Awesome, awesome. And let me ask you about this. So obviously, social media is something that you have gotten into a little bit. How did you first hear about Periscope, and like when did you start embracing that platform?
Periscope. You know, to be honest, I can't remember how I heard about Periscope. But I heard that it was a live streaming app, and you can just like record yourself. And I was like really hesitant, you know, like, do I want to even try this out? Like, is this going to be, you know, beneficial to me? Is this going to be beneficial to, you know, my business? And truthfully, I forgot how I heard about it, but I downloaded the app. And then I'm like, well, let me give it a try. And I remember I was scoping my first foreclosure, and I had like two people on my scope. 2 people on my scope. Right. Yeah, one of them happened to be Robert C. Stern. And so was on my scope, and I had no idea. I never met him in my life. I don't know who he was or nothing. You know, I had no idea he was on social media. And I'm talking about my foreclosure, and I'm touring in, whatever. And then he kept asking questions. He's like, well, where's that? And oh, wow. He goes, this is, you know, have you done this before? And I'm like, no, this is my first time. You know, the whole thank you, and thank you for watching my replay, like all these tips, I had no idea about that. I was just going with it. Whatever came out, I was going with it. So once I met him on there, then we ended up having a relationship offline. So he sent me a Twitter message, and then he was like, oh, you know, this is great for real estate. You know, you're one of the early adopters on this. And so he just kept talking to me, and then I did end up using him as my coach for a little while as well. And we ended up having a great relationship. And really, he's the one that pepped me up to say, you know, stick with it, be consistent, and do your thing, and just keep going. And here I am. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Robert is like definitely somebody I look up to. It's kind of funny. I've like actually been in a Blab with him like twice so far and stuff, but like he's on Blab all the time now. I don't know if you've noticed.
Blabber.
He's on there like a ridiculous amount. Like he used to think, okay, he periscopes a lot. Now he's like on Blab quite a bit. He's probably
here. He had like a Blabathon or something for 36 hours.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
When do you work? When do you?
Yeah. Questions I don't know how to answer there, but so before you were doing Periscope, you said you got into social media. Like, well, maybe you could tell me a little bit about like what you do on Periscope right now. Is it kind of a daily thing? It seems like you do them daily there. That you're doing something on Periscope. Is that right? Or
yes.
Like, how often do you do them? What do you do?
I try to do 2 scopes a day. Sometimes I don't want to, you know, I hate to be annoying. I don't want to be on there 5-7 times a day, because then it's like, you know,
yeah.
Then you know, that's too much. So I try to do 2. The maximum I'll do is 3. But typically what I'll do is I'll try to take my audience into the life of a realtor, really, and what happens. And like if I'm with a client on a showing, I'll show that I'm, you know, what is the client thinking about this? If I'm on a home inspection, you know, what does the client think about this? What does the home inspector say about these, you know, home inspections? So I'm really trying to tell a story and try to have my audience come into my story and my life and what happens in my everyday, business. I mean, that's what I do every day, and sometimes if I don't have a client with me, then I'll tour the home and I'll try to give information to the audience and say, well, this is why you want to buy this house, or this is why you need to get this type of loan, to qualify for this house, or just be, really informative, give a lot of value, give a lot of information. A lot of people ask me the same question over and over. And so I'm sure that the public out there is going to have those questions. I mean, buying a home is the biggest investment of your life. So I try to do it into stories, and I also try to be very informative and educational on my scopes as much as I can.
Okay. All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and let Carl sit here.
Hey, Sonia, how are you today?
Good. I was watching you earlier, Carl.
Hey, thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you. I saw you here, and I have heard so many good things. I've not yet seen you, but it sounds like you're doing the same thing I do, except for realtors who invest. I do the same thing. I take you behind the scenes and all that. So that's an awesome thing. I love what you're doing. That's a great idea.
Thank you. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
so what's your next plan when you're planning out your content? How do you plan that out?
So what I do is I typically I'm trying to have more themes going on. So like on Mondays I do Mortgage Mondays.
Good idea.
I always try to get the audience to go to my website, and they're now I have my followers that are on my scope. They're actually typing in the website, which is so awesome. I mean, I really appreciate it. Actually, Mark is awesome. He's been with me since day one. He's actually in the chat, and he's always on there. He's typing my website.
Right.
At the end of my scope, my goal is to say, hey, go to my website, sign up for my, my newsletter where I give secret tidbits about real estate, to still take them offline. So that's my strategy there. So I always mention on my scopes, hey, go to www.csonia.com. Go there. You'll get more information. I always try to take them back into my website where I have control over my own website versus other social media platforms.
I think that's an awesome.
That's an excellent practice. Yeah. And I'll just throw out there, Mark. He's been waiting here before I even got in. So Mark, if you'd like to sit in, have you talked to Mark face to face at all, or
no? I've never.
Or anything? I'll just throw it out there. There's a seat for you if you wanted to go ahead and sit, Mark. Let me ask you this. So you're in Chicago real estate. What are there trends in Chicago real estate that are different than and I used to live in Chicago, by the way. I lived in Chicago, like Waukegan and then Wrigleyville, but I'll just throw that out there real quick. Waukegan because I didn't know any better, and Wrigleyville because it's the best place.
Day and night, like that.
Yeah, exactly. But are there any trends that you see in Chicago real estate these days, or trends you've seen over time?
I think it's a trend in general for all real estate, and I'm sure there may be some realtors on here that would concur with me regarding not a lot of inventory out there right now, and there's a lot of buyers out there because interest rates are still low, but there's not a lot of inventory. So what happens is you're getting these multiple offer situations on one property, which tends to raise the price up a lot. And the market overall in general is getting better. There's a lot less foreclosures as well. The short sales are also starting to dwindle, but I think that's a trend over, the country, throughout the country.
That's the way it is here in Tucson as well.
Yeah, see.
Oh, okay. Carl, I'm in Phoenix right now. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much the way it is here in Tucson as well. Short sales are down. Okay. REOs are down. Yeah. I did REO sales for a number of years, so yeah, that was my thing. So yeah.
Awesome.
So let me ask you then.
Overall trend that I'm seeing here in Chicago, which is just really all over the country. And in Chicago, to give you more perspective locally, North side Chicago does tend to be a lot more expensive than South side Chicago. I am located more in the South side end just to give you a landmark, I am by Midway Airport. So I tend to focus on my deals more on the South side. I do have some North side deals too, but that's really where most of my business comes from is on the South side.
So let me ask you, if I might, Sonia, how long have you been involved in Periscope, and how many? You mentioned that you do it twice a day or so. So, I mean, about how many times have you suppose you've Periscoped, and do you use Cat?
Oh, so somebody asked me that. When was it? Yesterday or the day before? Oh no, I think on Monday, because we did a Blab on Monday. So I've done 245 scopes.
Okay, so
far.
about 3 months, something like that, 4 months.
Yeah, so I've been on since April, May, June, July, August, September. So I think of like late April.
Okay.
May. Yeah, about that time.
Awesome. And how has that affected your Twitter following?
Oh man, it's growing.
Yeah. How big is your following at this point?
I'm close to 4,000 followers on Twitter.
Wow, that's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
3,700.
Yeah, so it's growing like every day. But here's the thing about social media. And social media is about engagement. You know, it's about creating relationships. This is how I met Daryl. This is how me and you, Carl.
Right.
And I've created some awesome relationships on Periscope. And I think Periscope has been one of my favorite, like, if not the best platform that I've ever been on, because I totally am a social person, and I get to talk to you and interact with you like instantly. You know, I don't have to send a picture. I don't have to put up a picture on Facebook and comment on it. You know, you get to know me. I get to know you right away. I get to like, know, and trust you instantaneously.
Right. No,
so
I agree with that.
Even I mean, of course, I'm Blab as well, but you know, I'm really just a Periscope addict at this point. But yeah.
Me too.
Yeah,
yeah.
So now how do you get content? I mean, is it? I know that you mentioned you had Mortgage Mondays. What have you got going on? Say Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, how do you?
I have Mortgage Mondays. I have Tech Tuesdays. Wednesday, I'm coming up with Wisdom Wednesday. I also have Featured Follower Friday, Featured Follower, or Follower Featured Friday.
Good idea.
where I feature a
Throwback there.
Yeah, I know, it's a tongue twister. Where I feature a follower that's been with me, commenting, that's always engaging with me, and I take them to wherever they want in Chicago. We just did one, the Shed Aquarium. Somebody wanted to see the Shed Aquarium. Somebody last week wanted to see water taxi. This week, I don't think Catherine Ann is on here, but she wants to go to the water tower, or she wants to go to her favorite bakery in downtown because she lives in another state. So it's just a thank you to my followers, so that they can see that I'm out there and I pay attention to them, and it's not just about, you know, me talking about content. It's also about them too.
Well, I think that's an awesome plan. So, well, listen, I appreciate your time. I've got to go on to a coaching call, but thank you very much for taking my call.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, Carl.
You guys have a powerful
Thanks, Carl. Thanks for the input. Appreciate it. Yeah. And Sonia, right now, just throw it out there. It looks like your connection is kind of slowing down right now. I can't see your face, but it sounds like you could probably still hear us, and the audio is still
fresh. I can go back out and back in.
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, maybe go ahead and try that real quick. So right now, Sonia's just trying to come in and come right back out there. Let's see if this gives a better connection here.
I'm back. Is it better?
And there you are. There you are again. Yeah. So yay. Hey, we found you again. So yeah, let me just ask you a couple more questions here, and then I'll completely open it up, and we can turn off the recording and kind of go from there and get on a day if you need to. But what is there such thing as a typical day for you as a realtor, or is every day okay?
And that's something that I love about real estate, because it is definitely different every single day. And that's why I hated corporate so much, because having a 9-to-5 is the same thing every day. There is no real estate transaction that's the same. There is no person that is the same. It's all different. Mm-hmm. The process is the same, but the environment around the process is totally different every day.
Awesome, awesome. And now I'm just getting into more like the prepared questions that I had. So, is there a favorite nonfiction book that you have that has helped you out along the way in getting into real estate or sales or anything of that nature?
There is a book. Oh my God, and I should have had this ready. But there is a book from Adam Grant, and it's an audio. It's also on audio version, and it's called Give and Take by Adam Grant. It's called Give and Take. The book is based on givers giving, the people that like to give, and the people that like to take. I recommend that book to anybody. It's also on audio. I use Audible, but it's also on audio version as well. It's called Give and Take by Adam. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Okay. Looking for that right now. Now, when you first got started, I guess my next question, as I look for this book here to try and put in links, but if you could put it in there quicker than me, go ahead.
Okay.
But as you were starting, it sounded like the person who was starting their own brokerage, it sounds like they were kind of a mentor to you. Do you have any mentors right now that you kind of look up to as far as the real estate game at this point, or?
I don't have any mentors per se, but I do look at people outside of real estate, because I feel like there's a lot of people in real estate that just don't coincide with my same beliefs and concepts. I do listen to a podcaster. He's really awesome. His name is Ryan Fletcher. I do listen to him all the time. I love his ideals and concepts. And I also like Gary Vaynerchuk. That's again outside of real estate as well.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I mean, there's so many. There's like because I'm so addicted to social media. I like also aside from real estate, which is more into the social arena. Jay Bear is good. I don't know if you've listened to Jay Bear. And John Lee Dumas, he's a Entrepreneur on Fire podcaster. He has some awesome entrepreneurs on there. And I've also touched base with Ryan Williams, which is also similar to John Lee Dumas, which interviews other entrepreneurs as well.
Ryan Williams I haven't heard of. John Lee Dumas I definitely have, and I'll just tell you a quick aside. I was basically in the same, I was coached, just finished up coaching with the same original coach that he had. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Jamie Tardy. But yeah, she was John's original coach, but now he's just completely blown up. Absolutely, he's great. Does great interviews, does them daily. Yeah, fantastic person. But Ryan Williams there, how long has he been? Okay. Interesting.
He's a good person to listen to as well.
Okay. And then I guess I'll just kind of have a couple other questions here, then I'll go ahead and I'll let you go. So are you currently a part of a mastermind group at all, or familiar?
No, I am not part of a mastermind right now. My mastermind is watching people blab about masterminds.
There you go. There you go.
I mean,
fantastic.
literally, Blab has a lot of information. I mean, this platform is like, wow, information overload. But yeah, I'm just getting all my information from Blab actually, and Periscope too.
Okay, great. The next, second to last question is, what's one piece or one lesson or piece of advice that you'd like to share to someone who's looking to get into real estate, if you have any advice there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Make sure that the passion is there, that you really have a passion for it. It's not about the money. It's really about helping the people. And if you're in it for the right reasons, then you will do well. And also make sure that you have some savings. Because no one told me, hey, you have some reserves when you start, because your first deal might not come, 3 months from now or 6 months from now, and don't expect to pay the bills with that first division, because you're going to be behind on the other bills. So have some savings.
Awesome. And finally, and I think you might have put it in here, but if you haven't, go ahead. If somebody is trying to get a hold of you or wants to learn more about you or wants to learn about getting into their multi-million-dollar home on the north side of Chicago, Gold Coast or so, like how can they get a hold of you, Sonia?
They can go to my website at www.csonia.com. SEESONIA.com.
Okay, great.
Mark,
I'm gonna go ahead and
already.
Mark is on it. Thank you, Mark.
He's awesome. He's awesome.